Hello, everybody. I just spent the last 2 hours preparing for a video on the new Four Against Darkness Expanded Edition. And doggone it, while I was doing that, I had this tiny, little tiny Drosophila fly of a notion that popped into my head. And then I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I thought I would give this a try. This is a bit of unrefined discourse here, but I think it's at least worth a stab. So, what I was thinking about, and your mileage may vary on this based on your own experiences, but I was searching for something on Four Against Darkness, and it brought up a Reddit thread that I must have seen like a million times, and I'm sure you have seen it too. And the thread was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into solo play. A lot of this happened around COVID, right? A lot of people were separated from their groups. They didn't quite get the systems of playing online down yet, and some people were like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this solo play thing. What do you recommend? And what's interesting about this thread, because I re-find it, every like so often when I'm doing a search, is I get it and I read it, and then suddenly I'm struck by the fact that I'm like, maybe this isn't the same one. Like, maybe this thread exists like 1,000 times, right? And so I searched, and it's true. Like, that's not only that same question, which I mean, I'm not surprised that question gets asked. The fact that every time the question is asked, you get a lot of the same answers, and it does evolve over time. There are some that like rise and fall. There are some that come like are in wave patterns, and then there are some that were quite popular for a while, and then you don't hear much about them anymore. But I was trying to come up with like a list of the port of entry games, and as I was doing that, I thought of, and I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this before, especially if you're a millennial, this was like a perfect millennial website. It was like Political Compass, right? And you would answer a bunch of questions. If somebody steals money from me, would you rather A, forgive them immediately and give them a college scholarship, or B, draw and quarter them? Justice is the only answer. And then at the end, it was like, congrats, you're the next Stalin or whatever. I always like that system, even if the results of it are subscientific. I thought it's kind of cool way to organize that information, and it felt like revelatory to me. I don't know. It felt like it, even if it wasn't accurate, it felt like a good system. And so then, by this time, the Four Against Darkness video that I was supposed to make, like, by that time it was gone. The book itself was like under my chair somewhere, getting kicked around. But I think I need to expiate this video from my head in order to get back to that one, or I won't be able to stop thinking about it. So I was trying to figure out like what the axes would be. And so first of all, I would say that we'll probably go from like -10 to 10. And rise over run. So on the x-axis here, we'll do like mechanical density, and y-axis will do, let's call it narrative primacy. All right, so the x-axis is like, we would say -10 here. This is like almost no formal procedure, prompts over rules. It's barely a game. Like, it struggles to meet the definition of game, but it still could be gamified or fun. And then here at +10 would be super procedural, turn-based, quantified, system forward. There's calculation, tabulation. Maybe there's some sort of like systems of accrual over time. There might be geometry involved, line of sight. There could be strategy. There could be like strategy that you think about and can't sleep because you're thinking about it. All right, and then along the y-axis here, -10 would be like if there's a narrative at all, it's a byproduct of like your daydreaming while playing. I mean, honestly, like I would say that and I was trying to figure out like superlatives for each of these. Let me try to zoom out a bit here. Actually, before I do that, let me just show you like the games that I have here. So, Colossal, Ironsworn, Starforged. Mythic is definitely here. That gets recommended a lot, although it's a little bit of a wild card because it's kind of like if you were ranking sports teams and one of the teams was like the field or the league or like the rule book, but nevertheless it needs to be mentioned because of that. Star Trek Captain's Log, Scarlet Heroes, For Against Darkness. This is not the one. I accidentally grabbed the newer one, but 5 Leagues from the Borderland or like 5 Parsecs from Home. Especially with like me, myself, and Die being like, okay, what's these guys doing? This guy here says, I gotta get you down. No, doesn't want to do it. And he comes back, almost gets shot. What do you think about my Trevor Duvall? Lay on Hands I just got this delivered today. Although, this was an early game that I did hear about. This is by Alfred Valley, and Thousand Empty Light for some of us. I know for me, that was like an early game because like, there was a time when Mothership was just like the be all end all. So those are the ones I was thinking of. And also one more here. I think I can find this. Yes. 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And I sold that to get a Fitbit. So I didn't really go for that game. So that's the stand in there, but I think we can all agree. I that's one that I don't see as much anymore. But 2021, it was on there. The 3 that I think about, or 3 or 4, are Colossal, For Against Darkness, Ironsworn, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And the thing that got me thinking in terms of the political compass was like, I started thinking about those 4 and Scarlet Heroes sort of represent a genus species categorization of solo players, or at least like the archetypes. I mean, nobody is like just stays on those tracks, but those are sort of the different platonic ideals. And I think in a lot of ways, the which one of those you felt most attracted to initially, even if not exactly those, like ones like that, often tell a lot about where you come from and where you go, like what your experiences were before trying solo gaming and what you were hoping for after. And some of them are a bit confounding. Like, I noticed that people who recommend 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, those were people who had who were unable to imagine what else solo role playing could be. Like, and I'm not saying that their imaginations were limited or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying like because honestly, in some ways, when I first heard about it, I just heard the word or the phrase, and I was like, well, how does that work? And then when I saw Thousand-Year-Old Vampire, I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, I didn't, yeah, I guess this makes sense. I guess this is like, if there was going to be a game you'd play alone, I guess it would be like this. There'd be like prompts and stuff like that. Um, and it was intriguing. But then like once I discovered that there were other possibilities, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, good. Because um, I I think too, and I don't want to go too down the journaling path, but I think if you're a person who has trouble creating like internal world building or doing evocative writing or speaking or stuff, and you're a person who has a hunger for that kind of thing, I think could be very exciting. But there's just it's all based on where you come from and where you go. Okay, so I wanted to say that I think a fun place to start would be the superlatives on here. And these are kind of ridiculous because it's like some of these can't exist, but I tried to come up with examples of like the maximums in each corner. Like what would we consider something that is almost all narrative and no mechanics? And yeah, this task is like kind of silly, but also I think it provides like a good anchor point to compare, or just to sort of frame like what each of these boxes look like. Because again, in that political compass, and I haven't even looked at that site for years, but if you've ever used it, it would be like Republican, Democrat, socialist, anarchist, all those kind of things. And so I would say let's start full. This is the first one that I thought of. Full mechanics, no narrative, right? Like down here, and again, these are not. Most of them are not going to be tabletop role playing games, but I think the cleanest exemplar of this, a game that, if there's any narrative at all, it's because you're daydreaming or going out of your way to find one. And I would say that is chess, right? Like, definitely a game, quite popular. There are characters, I suppose, but I do wonder if there was, and if there's a chess head out there, it would be fun to illuminate. Like, was there a time when people were like, whoa, what if the knight did ride in and kill the castle? I don't know. That's about the most coherent one I came up with. The rest of these are increasingly ridiculous. So, on the other side of this, like no mechanics, high narrative, and again, this is going to be kind of dissatisfying here, but I would say like authorship, like epistolary fiction, writing letters to chain letters, maybe stream of consciousness poetry, what do they call it? Automatic writing, like the equivalent of doodling with writing. And so whereas this would be like entirely formal, deterministic, complete information possible, even if it would take, Deep Blue supercomputer to figure it out. Everything is ultimately ones and zeros. No fiction is required to play it. It's like you don't need to be like checkmate, and it's like, but wait, what's my queen's name? And I would say for this, trying to think of like names for each of these. mastery is about like pattern recognition and optimization. Maybe I could figure out names for these as I go along. Whereas here, no randomization, no procedures, no fail states, no win state or win conditions. The meaning is going to emerge entirely from like intent, um, authorial intent, and if there are constraints, they're self-imposed. But Moses, Winnona's cave, had a really, really interesting. Gosh, it must have been 2 or 3 years ago now. This really interesting game where the randomizing element was a haiku. And the reason why it worked was because it's a word puzzle that sort of makes you. It's not like you can't calculate what the 7th word will be, but it made it so that it was kind of like bubblegum in a dish. Like you could figure out who, catch it by what is it? Catch a teacher by its toe. I don't know. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm saying, but like you can figure that out, but it's easy to forget because it's got like a long sequence that is nonetheless easy to count because of some sort of structure. It's still a game. Moses' thing is definitely a game, but I'm saying like a haiku, a sonnet. Sonnets were like puzzles, It was this structure. It was a constraint that was a challenge. How can you fit in, or Hemingway, for sale, baby shoes never used. Is that apocryphal? Did he actually write that? Did he wear baby shoes? Yeah. So I would say this is the first one where you're probably thinking of one of these 1,000-year-old vampire. Or I saw one recently that was explicitly a letter writing game. All right, so then we have super high mechanics, super high narrative. The one I think of, and I'm not sure if y'all know about this one, but it's a game that I never played, but I watched in wonder as a buddy of mine played for years. There's Dwarf Fortress. There's also one called RimWorld. So if you've never heard of Dwarf Fortress, let me show you what it looks like. It is one of the most complex, unlimited possibility games ever. There was a video I watched where it's sort of like you have a kingdom, and there was some story where a guy like took over another guy's kingdom by like it took 17 years in the game to eventually like give this other king syphilis or something like that. And it's like the game lets you do that, and nobody had done that before, and probably, well, I bet a lot of people did that since, but like that's how open it is. All right, so imagine what that game looks like. Totally open world. You could do whatever you want. I mean, honestly, why are we not all living in Dwarf Fortress? It's like a second reality, right? Well, let me show you what this limitless reality looks like. I mean, just before I show this, just think though, like someone comes to you and they say, you can go to this place, this unlimited possibility. You have 10 seconds. You got to decide. Will you go? This could be utopia. Yes, you're going to go? Awesome. All right, let's find you some place to live. Here is Dwarf Fortress. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I know that. No, that's not a computer glitch. That's the world map. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do you think you want to live? Maybe right on this club, or Looks like there's some nice stuff right by here, top left by the pi sign, or is that a theta? Anyways, some people have been playing this game for decades, I think. Yeah. I tried playing RimWorld, but I didn't feel like it was, I felt like it was not crazy enough. But yeah, that would be just because everything in this world runs basically along these sort of pure algorithms. It's a fascinating topic to watch, like one of those awesome, weird 2-hour internet documentaries on. Check out Dwarf Fortress. Um, if you like the vibe right now on this channel, and people tend to love it or hate it, feel free to like and subscribe and join the SEAL team. You can hop on our Discord. We rock, we roll there. All right, now let's see. So we have chess, epistolary, dwarf fortress. Man, this one was really, really tough because honestly, no mechanics and no narrative. It's like white noise. And it was when I finally articulated that I think I came up with the only thing that could even remotely be considered a game of white noise, which I think is like a Magic Eye poster, because it has nothing. It has no like, I don't see how it could be a game, right? So here you have total systemization of meaning, right? It's like as you, the opposite of that has to be like entropic, right? You dwarf fortress in its aspirational sense are like, it's this hyper dense I was about to say situationalist. That's a little bit different. Guy Debord. Simulationist LARP. And narrative exists as the mechanic. Like the narrative somehow, because mechanic and narrative are at odds in a certain way, right? Like that's why when a game really hums, it's because you figured out how to like click it into place that way. But they are in some ways like magnets that don't want to kiss. And so narrative by its very nature resists formalization. And so when mechanics get to the point of fully determining outcomes, narrative becomes epiphenomenal again. This corner is a dream. But also, the other example you could say for this, if you really want to get wacky, is like life, I guess. Like that's why that is truly the standard that we measure games against. Like, how lifelike is this? How, and even if it's not real, even if it's fiction, it's like, could I believe that if I was living in this world, that the people there would act like they are, or whatever it is, you know? So I think for this one, this corner right here, and I don't want to take up too much space now because we're going to put other stuff, but I think this corner is God Simulator. This one I think is white noise. Now we have these butt heads. Let's think here. So we have like Go, Sudoku. This one is like Euro games, right? Like abstract strategy. But isn't it that Euro games also have kind of like an aesthetic to them? Let me give it a pause so that I can put some effort into it. All right. Let's try this. I think this one, and this is like a little bit cheap for me, but I kept thinking of The Matrix. But let's make it a little cooler. I think this one could be called the Infinity Circuit. And then this one, let's call it the autobiography. All right. So that's my best attempt to do that, but then the question is, and the fun is, where do these other games go on here? And then what sort of conclusions can we draw? And not only would I like to hear, first of all, if there's any games I'm kind of forgetting that are first ports of call, and I know these are just a certain segment of like English speaking world for the most part, but what games am I missing? What games should be on here? And I really want to know what was the game that like hooked you, or has there been one yet, or is there a game that hooks you but you just can't get reeled in? All right, let's start. This is my best attempt here. All right, so I think that we'll start with Thousand-Year-Old Vampire. Mechanics in that game exist almost entirely to destroy narrative continuity. Like, the game is about memory erasure, and then you start having these like colliding prompts that you have a limited inventory of you have like memories and a diary, and so it is a constraint of that authorship. I think it's an ideal game for people who think in themes, symbols, who like massaging slow emotional arcs into existence. As far as like why it had the first port of call appeal, there's zero tactical load, immediate payoff, even if it's not the type of prize you're looking for. You could quite quickly buy it, get home, and play. And so I gave it a -6 +9. Set and I might actually shift this over here, so we'll say these are each 2, 4, you know what, I'm gonna say -7 +9. Should we get a different color? All right, next, Colossal. Beautiful art, fun, like the book is just fun to have, and fun colors, and it just, there is like a certain reminiscence about it. It feels like the cool book that was on your shelf throughout your whole childhood that you just kept coming back to. Like for me, it's the same size of my I've shown these before, the same size of my like Dolea Norse and Greek myths, and it has kind of the same like power of illustrations in it as well. So it's a light structure, but it has consistent exploration procedures. It's definitely fiction first. It's not it has like some tension, but it's not like emotionally confrontational. It is it's a game about discovery, wonder, novelty. And you know, it's not easy for me to say this word, so I must say it's a cozy myth. It's not a crisis. why is this good first port? It's approachable, gentle. I think a big thing with it is if you get it and you're like, wow, this is not for me, you don't feel like you have a wasted purchase, right? This is not like the same as if you bought, Burning Wheel. Burning Wheel is great, but like if you never played before and had Burning Wheel on your shelf, you wouldn't say, well, at least I can page through Burning Wheel whenever I want, and it's nice. It's a pretty object, even. So I gave this a -2 +6. I don't think it has enough mechanics to bring it over that midline. There's in the later ones, like dungeons, we might get a little bit closer there, especially as we have like the different professions or whatever. But I mean, you have an exploration score and a combat score, and there's like a rule in it that it's like, oh no, you've confronted an enemy, and it says, just so you know, if you don't want to fight, you don't have to. So but still, I mean, it has enough so that it's like that horrifying ride at Disney that's not really a ride, Small World. I shouldn't have made fun of Disney. I'm probably gonna get... Okay, so yeah, I would say Colossal is 2 +6. Doesn't have the level of intrigue or anything like that, but still, it's still a thing. Okay, 5 parsecs / 5 leagues. I rated these together. I wrote, this is a campaign engine masquerading as a narrative game. Like I said, it does better with the more it goes on. I think it's a fantastic system. I think it is even a hardcore like wargamer, I think would feel like there was something fun and interesting and cool there. For comparison, I'm not trying to dump on it, but like if you gave somebody who's like, I play Pathfinder 2e 4 days a week, I love it, I have to do it, I'm a min-maxer, and you're like, okay, well, we don't have that, but for the next 6 years, you can play Colossal. I don't think they'd be like, well, it's not exactly what I want, but okay. I think, well, I'm sure that somebody who plays like not even 40K, somebody who like lines up French auxiliary rifle corps or whatever, those kind of folks, like if you gave them 5 parsecs from home, it's not going to be everything they want, but I bet you they'd be like, all right, yeah, I can get down with this. It is, the narrative exists mostly as like a connective tissue between battles. I would say it kind of serves as the same way as like an early Nintendo game cutscene, right? Where it didn't really make any sense, didn't have to make any sense. There was always somebody there, especially the games made in Japan, they would always have one dude, like everybody would have a Japanese name, and then the one guy would be named like Joe Ken, or Ken Dad, I think was in one of the games. That's a cool name, Ken Dad. But yeah, it's got clear, very clean loops. You recruit, you fight, you upgrade, rinse and repeat. I did a video on, what is it, Deep Below. That's more of a dungeon crawl. Something special going on in that game, for real. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, that's awesome. But yeah, I would say the first port of appeal with 5 parsecs or 5 leagues is like, if you have some wargaming, skirmish gaming experience, you're gonna recognize that grammar. And I think it's tough for me to say because I disagree with it so vehemently, but I'm just trying to get in the headspace. I think people would feel less embarrassed about that. Like, I know that there are some people. Well, I know there are some people who are jerks about solo play. I remember watching a video of some guy in his car just being like, "This is why solo role playing does not exist." I watched that years ago. You still see stuff like that sometimes. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I think some people could be self-conscious, like thinking, oh, you sit alone in a room and be like, okay, Bart, now you get yours, right? Like, I think it's a little different, even though wargaming, surely people could be like, oh, are you playing with your little army men? Anyways, I did +7 on mechanics and -2 on narrative. And in fact, I probably would go -3. So, 6.5 I'd probably go, but we're not gonna go there. So we'll go 5 parsecs, 5 weeks. All right. 4 Against Darkness. And this is I sort of biased because I've been playing the expanded edition for the last 3 hours, and that has and don't worry, I will do that video, but that has 205 pages compared to the 90 of the first one. A lot of mechanics are the same, still pretty simplified, just some more stuff. But I did, just to cut to the chase on that one, I want to +7 mechanics, and for the first one at least a -5 on narrative. If I were to do it on the expanded edition, you can tell I've been reading it. It has a whole section on like the background, so I'd probably bump that up to honestly I'd probably bump it up to a -1 or a 0. But for now, yeah, I'm gonna say a +7 for that, and -4 for narrative. Don't I believe that? Parsecs is no. I cannot put that on the same, because honestly, 5 part. You know what? This has got to go here. 5 parsecs. The only thing I'm thinking about is like I cannot mechanically put 4 Against Darkness equal to that. It just does not have the same level of involvement. Let's call it +6, -4. I think that's a good idea. That's not very good. Yeah, I'm good with that. Now, if you put together all of the 4 Against Darkness modules, I think that would really jumble this up quite a bit. Yeah, Mythic, I really couldn't decide. You know, there's part of me that feels like Mythic should be here. At one point, I convinced myself that it's like a wild card, and then I was like, no, it's definitely +5, +5. But I should say, because I was in an internal fight with myself, I forgot to say about 4 Against Darkness. The original 4AD is almost pure procedure. The fiction is optional. It's still optional in this one. There are some more role-playing tools in it, but still, that's just like stapled on. There's nothing that is going to require you to do that. There's nothing that really mechanically improves with it, and it's not supposed to, but I think it's always a weird thing when you have a game that is a sort of like a set of gears and wheels and sprockets, and then you go, and while you're doing this, you can sing a song, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, if I feel like it. But I think, and especially as I was playing the expanded edition, it felt good. I must have shifted something that I not only was tolerating it, I was kind of enjoying it. It's sort of like something, it felt like getting a high score on some old arcade game that like I would go to the arcade to play. The satisfaction points are like from clarity, probability, and like throughput. The fact that like you can get out of 4AD what you put into it. You can if you can get good at remembering to sheathe your sword so that like the iron construct doesn't munch your magic weapon that you'll loot. You know, so it does have good strategy to it. It feels you feel like you're you feel like you're a Top Gun, like you're an ace pilot. Metaphorically, the game is not about dog fighting and jets. But yeah, I would say as far as 4AD, like why is it a first port of call appeal? Almost no ambiguity. Even if you have not played, if you're just familiar, I would say even if you played like a computer or video game role-playing game, you could probably figure out your way through that with a little bit. The saves and the defense ratings get a little wacky. We're going to talk about that a little bit, the distinction between those and the weird sort of fitting that they've done around those pipes. But anyways, it's sort of solo play as puzzle solving. So I'm good here. Mythic I'm going to skip. I don't think Mythic is Star Trek Captain's Log. So this is what an interesting experience. We're gonna do a +2 on mechanics and a +6 on narrative. We've been talking about it in the members Discord that there's supposed to be a second edition of this. Also, early last year, or at least midway through, Modiphius put out a little presser, like a blog post, and I'll show it to you. They are apparently in 2026. They're releasing Lone Wanderer for the Fallout 2D20 system, which is it's not an inference. It says it right here. For those who prefer to brave the wasteland alone, Lone Wanderer is set to bring a solo role-playing experience to the Fallout universe in 2026. Built on the acclaimed 2D20 system and inspired by Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log, this RPG will let players create their own Vault-Tec survivor or ghoul, super mutant, or even robot. So I'm pretty excited about that because I have to be honest, I really the 2D20 system for Fallout has really grown on me. I don't know what it is about that. I just think it maps to the game really well. And the thing I'm hoping though, and I don't know why it should even be an issue, but if you look at Captain's Log, all right, so this is Star Trek Adventures. I just have the starter set, and this is Modiphius's 2D20 system, which really I remember when I first encountered this. I don't even know I forgot I had some dice in there. When I first encountered this system, I remember like there just being this vibe that people didn't love it. But it's no surprise. First of all, it's no surprise that people didn't love it because in this hobby, that's like one of the things we do is form preferences. So just because some people don't like something doesn't mean it's not good. But I remember being surprised that like people just didn't like it. But at the same time, people don't like Free League's system for very good reasons of dice distribution, scaling, stuff like that. But I just sort of like fell in with that, I guess, hang out with the wrong crowd. This is not a good example, but anyways, the Star Trek Adventures game is built on the 2D20 system, which makes sense because it's like their proprietary system, and it works really well. And I mean, this is the second edition of it, and so even at the time that Captain's Log came out, it was, I mean, this is a big, like at my FLGS, there's tons of Star Trek books and supplements, and even with Captain's Log, there's like 4 different cover iterations of it. I don't know why I'm like trying to point out the 2D20 system, but essentially, if you've never done this before, you take this is for the ship, so it's not quite the same, but like you take 2 different areas, and they actually like connect really well together, and you use those combined for like I guess target number, not sure if that's what it's called. And so it's like you have this whole system. Not only do you have like the whole 2D20 system, you have a Star Trek core game. And then in Star Trek Adventures, for reasons known only to that hottie Riker, who I loved in that show, that we were just supposed to like take it on the word of the writers that like Riker was this dashing man, especially when he was like beer bellied out. But yeah, you can even see it right now, like just like how much is in here. There's tons and tons of information in here. I mean, if you're like just wanting to learn about Star Trek, it's hard to get a better deal than this. I'm telling you, it's like $30. It had nice loops, but this is where it slows down here. This and Momentum. In the original one, and they've changed this now, I'm not sure how, but like Momentum was something that you could build up. And here they said, well, you know, what we're going to do is we're just going to make it so that you can only have 1 momentum. And then you either have it or you don't. This was, I mean, it's right here. Hey, this is different. And I just love this line. The play mechanics for Captain's Log are different because they serve the gaming needs for solo RPGs, a growing genre. The mechanics in this book serve to spark the imagination and drive the narration of a story like you would see in a Star Trek show or movie. Star Trek Adventures game modules normally provide details up front about the various scenes game masters can run their players through, pre-built stats, and a suggested conclusion. Okay, this is good. This is their instinct here is correct. It's better that you give us inputs than endpoints. Captain's Log, on the other hand, encourages you to start with a few random rolls and let the story form as you go. You may be surprised at how your imagination fills in the blanks. Okay, so nothing wrong with that. It gives you create your character, select your mission type, generate a theme. The tables in here, I mean, if you have this game, just like take a little drip through these. I mean, it's almost too bad that they're all Star Trek related because they are so good. You could use these for, I mean, look at this. Abandoned places, spacefaring, generating random momentum, trade opportunities, ship in distress, non-player characters, beasts of the galaxy, preferred environment. I mean, this is crazy. It just goes on and on. But there's a little issue. So besides the fact that like most of the mechanics do not get explained until 180 pages in, they also removed the challenge dice, which were used in the Star Trek Adventures base game to like determine damage. And so, you know, the idea is like, well, we pared this down to make things more simplified, and really the most noticeable thing for me was that combat was just kind of stinky, right? Like that little. I'm not gonna keep trying to find these pictures, but like they had a mission tracker which worked well, just kind of like Star Forge. You know, you're building it up. It's my boy Q. Um, but really, like ship combat was so basic, and it just had like three, for lack of a better term, like wounds on your ship. And so I was like, okay, that was a thing. Um, it made combat really abstracted, really boring, and in a way, I don't love combat, but it's a good if you're gonna scoot through it really quick. It somehow was like both too simplified and too tedious. I don't know how that works, but I was like, all right, well, obviously they got a whole bunch of feedback. They're going to make a second edition of it. But then for Star Trek Adventures 2E, they also removed the challenge dice because they're trying to make it like more streamlined, more based on, the story and stuff like that. And so it doesn't matter. Can you throw in challenge dice yourself? I don't know. What am I talking about? Why am I even talking about this? I'm not doing a review of this. I'm talking about it because for whatever reason, the Fallout 2D20 system, I like it okay in its other games, but in Fallout it just works. Like with all the loot and all the options. I mean, it just is like, it's like I feel like a kid in a candy store whenever I open up any of the books here. I can't wait to get the Settler's Guide. Look at just like how much awesome stuff and crafting and different missions and so many. It's just so cool. And at the same time, I yeah, this Captain's Log was made in like what, 2021, and I know that I'm talking about this like it's ancient history. 2023. How is that possible? Oh, I guess that's 3 years ago. Dang. Even in the last 3 years, we have like developed this hobby so much. And I think that there's confusion sometimes where it goes, well, for solo play, we need to reduce the amount of things that the player does. And it's like, no, I actually want a wide variety of options. I just don't want to have to do them all at once and account for all of them all at once. Right? It's all about that cognitive load. So I'm a little nervous. I hope they stick with the bread and butter with this because this is such a good system here. But we'll see. Like we've solo played the core book. We don't need Lone Wanderer, but I'm definitely excited about that. Back to my actual video. All right. So what definitely gave strong agency to the player. Gave tons of information for that. The mechanics in that were pared down. I think they were focused on pacing and this thing of like, oh, we want to give space for the story, but also even though it had like all that lore and stuff in it, and it was really those tables that give it the rating it does. So I probably actually would say that this is like a 7. What was it like? Why was it a port of call for some people? It's one of the most popular franchises in history, So I mean that opens a door, and also it was just damn well written, and I think a lot of games could go back to that, right? Like if you are looking to write a solo game, take a look at that Star Trek Captain's Log. Even though, like, just pretend the first 170 pages aren't there because it's all about all the different franchises. But I keep calling them franchises like I'm doing Outback Steakhouse. You know what I'm talking about. So, all right, Scarlet Heroes. I've often said that every time I play a game of Scarlet Heroes, I feel like Kevin Crawford has Like, he knows what the crop circles mean because he's just on another level. He's just on another level. It is a small solo supplement, but it is so potent that, you know, with combined with everything else, I mean, 114 to what, like one. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, all this stuff like is used in the solo segment. If you have never played Scarlet Heroes solo and you look at this, you might think, what is so good about that? Just play it. Play it. Because it just gets it right. It just gets it right. But it's definitely OSR bones. He's done a really cool thing with converting the math. I think in a way he sort of solved some of the problems that For Against Darkness has, where you're constantly just hitting for one. There's a really cool system. I won't get into it right now, but it basically like converts all the hits down to like somewhere between 1 and 5 HP for you, so that you never get like knocked out of the box. This was a strong solo flare shot into the sky for anybody who already thinks in OSR. And this lets traditional OSR type dungeon crawling players go solo without having to relearn. That's I mean, I hate to leave it at that because it like I think there's so much to be said about that, but it was a little bit difficult to rate it because we're not rating like how good things are, we're rating the mechanics and stuff. And so I think the mechanics I originally put +6, and now I'm looking at like yeah. I'm gonna say +6 and -2. The my gosh, this is like leaking. Somebody call for help. All right, well, you could probably see one of the heroes right there. Yeah, I think a +6 feels right. Maybe a +7 on that. It's more involved than 4AD, but just by a little. The I would say that the biggest downside of Scarlet Heroes, well, two, and much love to everybody, but I don't even like looking at this. I don't even like looking at it. Like, this is just, I don't know what to say. Like, first of all, they're on the same team, right? And then what? Why? The stuff inside is not that bad. Even the layout, it's kind of a shame because, and again, this is coming from somebody who is an amateur, but like it does look a little amateurish, just like the spread of the tables and stuff. But he is, you know, he's somebody that puts all this stuff together, so I certainly understand that. I just how good it is and everything. Just like walls of text, but the lore, I don't really. Jeez, I forgot that you can't even like show that stuff because it's so brutal. Yeah. Anyways, all right, and then Ironsworn Starforged. This was a challenge too, folks. This was a challenge. And just so that I can get to the final piece here, this I gave a so I'll just say I couldn't decide whether it was a 4 or a 5 in either of them. The the narrative, there's barely any narrative present, all right? But that's not like really what I'm measuring. I'm measuring like how invested the player can get in the narrative, and I certainly think that Starforge and Ironsworn are games that roll out the red carpet for that storytelling, that narrative. The actual story is quite vacant. And what ends up happening, I think, is you start absorbing other tropes and stuff into the stories because it is so vacant. I mean, Starforged basically has like a page that says, which at this point I'm not blaming Starforge because I think it was still in the last gasp of this moment, but just to all future like sci-fi writers, we have to stop saying that the universe blew up or whatever. Like, this is in so many. The universe blew up. All right. So, like, why am I at a cantina if the universe did the heat death? The universe did the heat death and it did a no growth. I think we'll go for mechanics. I think it's a little weird because as much as some people are like, oh my gosh, mechanics, I slide right into them. They're so easy. It's so straightforward. For every person like that, there's a person who's like, I just do not get it. I do not get how to propel this forward. And so, yeah, I think I got to give it a +5 or 4 with the mechanics. And I think I'll have to give it with narrative as a 1. Yeah, I think it goes like right here. I was hoping there would be some sort of like distribution with all of this. And there kind of is, other than like the outlier of Star Trek Captain's Log, which truly is like an outlier. But everything else is pretty much like that, you know? But really it's not about like the curve that I was interested in. What I'm actually interested in is how these 3 of these, or 4, really do create this 3-pole typology. And I think that they are 4AD, Ironsworn, Starforged, Thousand-Year-Old Vampire. I would say that Colossal, Star Trek Captain's Log, oh yeah, I couldn't even read it. I thought it said soaring, like that ride. I would say like these are a binary star, Scarlet Heroes and 4AD. 5 parsecs probably is like a mini offshoot of that. But I would say, yeah, maybe even Thousand-Year-Old Vampire and Colossal are a little bit of like a megalopolis star system. But I would say that these, maybe this too? Yeah. These 3 sectors, I think, are the 3 typologies. You got 4AD people who want clarity, repeatability, risk without introspection, without role play requirements. I bet a lot come from board games, war games, old school dungeon crawl, or classic D&D. They like procedures over prose. Ironsworn, Starforge people they want structure, but only in as far as it creates story. They're comfortable with ambiguity, with things not perfectly lining up, with things simmering. And I would say that they're more interested in like cybernetics, feedback loops between fiction and rules. So like rather than facing the tension between these, it's more just like, well, let's just see like if we can get a good system of like inputs and outputs here. And then 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, they see the exchange of information that happens at a table, perhaps. The natural thing there is for that to happen in their head, right? Like the true delight of tabletop role playing is the creation of this story that is probably at its best when you're doing that with others and those other people are like on the same wavelength as you. But that's getting increasingly difficult. It's getting increasingly difficult, and it's not even about it's not even about like conflict necessarily. It's in fact, it's like the lack of that, where people are just feeling like it's just more effort than it's worth. Like I have been very lucky. I think it's a really good group that I have for Pendragon. But there are other groups that I could see if I were in them for 8 years and then they ended, I'd be like, I'm not so sure I want to like do that again right now. And so I still want that story. I still want those sort of like neuronal connections sparking. I'm betting a lot of them are writers, artists, theory-minded people, people that liked, for some reason, I'm just riffing here, people who like bottle episodes of television. And bottle episode is if you're not familiar with that, it's an episode that like starts and ends and does not tie to the larger story. Most TV shows were bottle episodes, like for most of human history TV. But I feel like when I don't watch TV at all, but when I did, it was very rare that I would watch a show that had no continuity to it, because I would be like, I am distracting myself. Like, this is just a waste of my time. But I have evolved in one aspect of that, not in TV, but I feel like it's related. Is like I've found that there's some really cool there's really good short stories out there, which I never used to do. I'd be like, why do I want to read a story? And as soon as it starts getting good, it's over. But like sometimes it's just perfect to create that spark without it's just like the perfect dosage. And I think I am not there yet with a journaling game, especially because I write so much and I am a very extroverted person. I also am a person who is very much willing, able, and unafraid to talk about ideas as well as my self, my history, my feelings. I'm also very open to other people's feelings. I'm very open to strong emotions. And I still do believe that if you watch too much stuff, that sort of, and this could probably be another video where we talk about some of the different ways of viewing like your player character. I think that there is something that happens when you view, for instance, like my friends that watch a lot of reality TV, and they start to see involuntarily, they start to see that there are those people out there that live these exciting lives, and they are not one of them. And sometimes some of the reason that I don't think I need to be a vampire who's losing his memory and his love and, you know, all this stuff is because I've got, you know, my own stuff going on. I'm not that's not a dig. Like, I'm just talking about differences. And I know that sounded kind of critical. That's just something that I notice about my friends, and so I just think that that's my impression of that. That's how I'm oriented, and that maybe explains why I'm not into that. But yeah, everything else is kind of a bridge and a ramp between this stuff. Now, there is a third axis that I'm not going to get into because my brain is fried, but I did think about this. The third axis is the Z. No, well, I mean it is, but I think it would be like the emotional demand of a game. What do you think it would be? Let me know in the comments below, or send me a VHS tape of yourself responding. Bye. Goodbye.